Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And doing some pre-recordings probably in the summer. I got some stuff going on with swim team and things like that, like always. And as you get dragged into having to volunteer and coach, some of the time just isn't available in the summer for me right now. Plus, we don't really have much on the docket. The Steelers are coming in, and they're having issues with TJ Watt and his contract. I've seen articles start popping up about Aaron Rodgers not participating, not having his body in a good place. And that's why I didn't think he was even going to show up this early. Right? Like, everyone knows he's old. He's not in Tom Brady's shape. Like, he's not doing photo shoots of him, like, doing healthy eating and, like, having a fitness product to push, right? His thing is, like, going on Pat McAfee's show and doing whatever he wants to do, like holing up and doing meditations. That's not going to help you, especially when you haven't been winning as a quarterback. So I never thought the Aaron Rodgers thing was going to be an instant Band-Aid fix where the team's going to be great this year. I thought it was more of a, hey, TJ, come on down and why don't you sign like a longer term deal with us? Right? Don't you agree? Or what do you think the mindset was behind that move?
I mean, I think part of it was to give the impression that they're trying to win now. Maybe, I think they added enough that in theory, on paper, they're competitive. The longer that I'm seeing Watt not get a long-term extension, it makes me just think, are they better off trading him away and getting a legit number 2 receiver?
I don't know if I'd trade a defender for a receiver, though. I mean, if you're going to cut a man for whatever, you can't get anything, right? Probably.
I mean, I think you can probably get a potential first-round pick and another comp pick for Watt. And the thing is, Watt has always missed games over the last couple seasons. So you're gambling that he's going to end up getting hurt at some point anyhow. So do you get the value right now, or do you hold off thinking he's going to try to test the market and price himself out of what Pittsburgh's willing to pay?
Do you think Pittsburgh overvalues players that like they consider longtime Steelers? Like, remember Ben, they were like, we really don't want him to go anywhere else. We don't care if we're crappy as long as he plays here. And TJ Watt's kind of getting the same type of run. Do you think like they value more like the marketing of these Steeler type guys versus trying to do what's best for the organization, letting them walk past their prime, play out their last few years, nobody will remember them? I mean, I think of like Julius Peppers. He was like the Carolina Panther, right? And then he floated around to like every team in the league for a while, I think. And then I don't even remember where he ended up. So like TJ Watt could do the same thing, play for like 5 more years with 5 different teams, and I don't know if it would matter. Who else is the other one? Well, I'm trying to think of who was the Broncos big guy from their Super Bowl win. Didn't he bounce around after that? Or did he win?
Von Miller?
Yeah, did he win with the Rams? Or did he go right to Buffalo?
Can't remember.
Because that's a guy that was winning. TJ Watt hasn't won. So, like, they keep comparing him to Myles Garrett. And so they think that if he can get the salary, they can have their rivalry continue to, like, the AFC North or whatever. And that's fine. That's good for all marketing. And I think the Steelers could use that as, like, their essential, hey, Steelers guy. Like, TJ Watt, take it down Myles Garrett. Great career battles. How many playoff wins? 0, but that's okay. Because he didn't go and play for the Jets for the money, right? So I wonder if that's just a Pittsburgh thing. Like, the other teams care if their guys go to other teams. I always often wonder, like, in baseball, it's the same thing. They made a big deal about McCutchen leaving. And it's like, dude, they could have had so many other guys from that 2013 team and brought them back. And it's not just McCutchen. Like, they let everybody go. So, like, if they would have been able to keep McCutchen, would Pittsburgh fans have been fine with all that losing just because he was around? And, like, they had their Pittsburgh guy? I don't know. Like, that's the question. Because, like, you bring in Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be considered a Pittsburgh guy unless he wins a playoff game, I don't think. Do you agree?
I mean, at this stage in his career, I just don't think that, unless he really went on a tear and, like, won an impressive amount of games, I just don't see that happen. Like, I think he's more connected with Green Bay because he won a Super Bowl there. Do you think, like, Tom Brady is connected to being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer because he had the Super Bowls there?
I think it's more of a split for him. Because, like, everything connected with the Patriots was, like, connected to Belichick. And then he won without him, and that kind of just elevated him to where there's no argument now, right? No one says, like, hey, Tom Brady only won because of Belichick like they used to. They know that's a joke. Belichick's doing college photo shoots at UNC right now without Tom Brady. So, like, if Aaron Rodgers...
If you can get your mermaid shoot.
I know, I do need one of those. I'll say this, where if the... let me try to phrase this. If Aaron Rodgers wins a Super Bowl, he'd have one in Green Bay, one in Pittsburgh, but it's only for 1 year. Right? So it's not like they're going to go ahead and put him in and say, all right, that's the guy. Right? They're just not going to have that happen. So I think that it would be more, even like Matt Stafford, like he's with Detroit, right? He wins the Super Bowl with the Rams. Are people going to remember him as the Rams QB? Like that's going to be his defining, even though he spent all those years in Detroit? I don't know. I see Detroit being mad if he let's say he makes the Hall of Fame or something because he plays for 5 more years, and then he goes in with the Rams. Would Detroit fans be mad? But he didn't win there. I think it all comes down to winning.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you win enough games, anyone will accept you.
Yeah, that's the one thing too, where like Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. Everyone knows didn't win it, but if he would have won a Super Bowl after that, I think a lot of people might say like, okay, he's more than just the 49ers quarterback, and not a lot of quarterbacks have success with 2 teams. Because even like Favre switched all his championships were with Green Bay. Peyton Manning switched. Where do you consider him?
I would say he did his winning in Indianapolis. I felt like he got another one in Denver, but I felt like that defense with Wade Phillips was so good that they carried him because he had the broken neck and was like the defense was just so much better. It wasn't like those Colts teams where he had to pretty much they were just in a shootout every game.
Yeah, so he
may not have even gotten that Super Bowl had he had not run into an abysmal Bears team.
I know, because they got killed by the Seahawks that one year. Then he got sacked for like a fumble the first play or something. Safety, it was horrible. They did awful. So yeah, he might not have even been considered that. So I agree. I think it comes down to winning and where you're doing your best. Like if Mahomes would leave the Chiefs tomorrow and go win like 3 Super Bowls somewhere else, I think I would consider that more of like a split. Like I know Tom Brady's probably going to lean towards New England now that he's separated himself from Belichick. I just don't think he's going to completely forget the Tampa Bay part because that kind of elevated him up. And I would be idiotic to say, oh, he's the Tampa Bay quarterback, right? Just because of all the winning he did in New England. So Aaron Rodgers, he didn't do a ton of winning. He's more like the Peyton Manning situation where, yeah, he did a lot of his winning with Green Bay. He only won the one ring with Peyton. I think only won one with the Colts, and then he won one with Denver. So if miracles do come true and he wins the Super Bowl with the Steelers this year, I know he didn't play as many years with the Steelers as what Peyton did with the Broncos. He went to the Jets first. So people are going to remember the Jets. Like, I think everything he does now that's not winning, or at least competing for like a playoff spot and stuff, is just diminishing his career record. And I don't know why Steeler fans are like, I don't want to say so invested, but like they're so worried about having a bad year with him. And it's like, that's what you signed up for, though. That's what everyone wanted. Like, we wanted that. I mean, on the show, I said, like, there's a chance he doesn't even finish the year. You tank, get Arch Manning. I'm not joking about that. I think there's some serious smoke there. I'm not saying that, hey, having Aaron Rodgers like blow up and just be awful and lose a bunch of games, I think a lot of people would buy that as not tanking, right? Because they got Aaron Rodgers, and people can still consider him to be good. They listen to Collinsworth on TV. When the commentators are still talking about Aaron Rodgers like he's about to win 5 Super Bowls, like fresh off 2010 or whenever that was, and it never happened. And he didn't even have competition on the NFC side. That's the thing that drove me nuts. And this is before I was even a Packers owner, dude, right? So, like, if he would have won at least the NFC and got to the Super Bowl and lost a bunch of Super Bowls, I think people would say, oh, okay. He wasn't even getting to the Super Bowl. Like, he wasn't even winning enough to be in the conversation. Like, he wasn't even a Jim Kelly after that. So for the Steelers to think this guy's going to come in, beat Lamar Jackson, beat Josh Allen, beat Patrick Mahomes, and win the Super Bowl, it would be insane. It'd be flat out insane. And whether they get a receiver too or not, I mean, he's not going to drive the offense. I saw a picture of him and Metcalf in the golf cart. I had to send it to you with the. I should have just did a backdrop of the Best Friend song, which I sing old songs like that. My son's like, "Did you make that up, Dad?" What's the other one? Reunited and It Feels So Good. I was singing that to him the other day, and he thought I made it up. And I played the original, and he was like, "What is this? This is a horrible song, Dad. Why does it sound so old like that?" I thought you wrote it. He was like disappointed that I didn't write these old classic songs. But that's how I feel with Metcalf being there. It's kind of like, hey, people think you're good. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, people think you're good. Come in here, guys. We got a plan. We're going to get Arch Manning. Because then Metcalf will probably be like, okay, I'll play with Arch Manning next year. And it might not even pay off. I'm seeing, oh man, I hate to say it, they're going to get like the 8th draft pick. They're going to have like 6 wins or something. Write that down. Aaron Rodgers will play the entire year, and it will be like a close fade. Start out like 4-3 or something, and then be close, win another one to like stay close, and then just fade down the season, and everyone's like, oh, that was a good try. Good try. Who we drafted now? Who knows? They could trade up. I mean, they had the capital to trade up last year, and they didn't do it. And then, on the other hand, it's like the Will Howard thing. You bring a guy in that won in college at 2 locations, not the best passer by any means. But when you have a guy that knows how to win, you have to kind of give him a chance, like Purdy, because you never know, right? Winning is a good bit mental. Like, you have to have the mental mindset to win games. And so that's what I think going in here. You have to have that mindset. And With rookies, sometimes you don't have it. And then they have to learn how to win. And they might never learn how to win. Or you have guys like Cam Newton that can win, and then the organization never backs him up. And then he's kind of just like run off into this weird land where he could have been great. He won at college without any support, and then they tried to do that in the NFL, and it didn't really work out. And they came close. But, like, that's a lightning strike. You're not going to have that happen too often. So, that's why even with the Arch Manning, like, you can't go in this year and say, hey, I'm going to tank. Because what if he comes out at Texas and he's awful? Can't be like, hey, I'm going to draft you still the first round pick because I'm friends with your uncle. Or, hey, I like your uncle's insights on that quarterback ESPN show they do. Great. Get in here, buddy. Because, I mean, honestly, that could be another thing. Is he even a surefire number one overall? He could fall to the Steelers like Roethlisberger did. Anyway, even if they do a semi-good year, I don't want to say good with like 6 wins, but like if they have a 10th round draft pick because of how Aaron Rodgers did and it's not a complete fall off, Arch Manning doesn't look that great. He tumbles in the draft, and I mean, you never know. Like, look at Shedeur Sanders. That's going to be a key thing. Manning still has a lot of the media presence that Shedeur Sanders has now. Not the same type of hype, and people aren't really annoyed with the Mannings, right? Too much compared to Dion. A lot of people hate Dion for some reason. That you can go ahead and say this guy might not fall like Shedeur Sanders did, but you never know. Because like that would be the negative, where the Steelers had a great chance of getting him multiple times. And if he comes out on the Browns and he's real good, like I've seen him thread the needle so much in some of these training camp things. Like it's crazy that out of all the rookies, they're really showing a lot of Shedeur Sanders like hype and highlights. And it's like, look, we can't believe what we got. It's like you drafted another QB ahead of him. So you didn't even believe it. Like if you'd have drafted him, like your draft is, no matter what happens, your draft's going to be considered awful because you could have just got Shedeur Sanders with that 3rd round pick or 4th round pick, whatever you used on Dylan Gabriel. Unless they both end up being like great QBs, where he's like a Steve Young, Dylan Gabriel, he comes in left-handed, like later in his career, and Shedeur Sanders, like something happens, he has a great career too. And you're like, look, we got 2 guys, awesome, great draft. Then I could see it. But having one guy get picked so much later because you didn't trust him, and then have all your rookie highlights of him, how's that make the other guy feel? That you took first. Like, hey, we know you drafted you first, but we're just playing. We're not going to really play you, dude. You get a higher salary, though, right? Isn't it like stepped? Like, just be happy. Go over there, sit on the bench, collect your money, do whatever you need to do. But yeah, I mean, I've been watching some of the highlights from like the mandatory training camp stuff that they've been putting out. And right now, they just don't have it, excuse me, out there that I've seen too much that stood out that I'm like hyped on a certain team right now. I need to see more data. I'm actually hyped that the Hall of Fame game is at the end of July this year, 31st, I believe. And so we're closing in, man. We're halfway through June. We got 2 weeks of June left, and then we're 1 month away. So I want to see more of that. Try to get some of these rookies on tape for like wide receivers and running backs and kind of get a feel of who might be a steal in your fantasy football draft. So I might have some tidbits, but I got to pour through some data before I share some of that and make sure that Matt's not listening. I'll pick a week where Matt's falling asleep on the show, and then I'll share my fantasy picks of the week. So he doesn't bid me up, dude. That's what will happen. And some of these guys, like Marvin Harrison Jr., I've seen the pictures of him and how much more ripped he is this year. And that, I don't know if I like that. Because, like, being more ripped doesn't mean you're going to be a better receiver.
It does. Ask David Boston.
Yeah, didn't he get roided out and then blow his knee, and they said because he couldn't support all the weight? It was his knee or his ankle. Like, I'm pretty sure I read an article where the doctor said he had gained so much muscle mass that, like, his knee or ankle joint, whatever one he blew out, just couldn't support the weight at the speed he was trying to run. And he was like, I don't know why he gained that much muscle. And every time I see one of those muscle bound
Barry Bonds saw it was like, I need to just try that supplement.
Every time I see a dude that's that muscle bound at the gym, I always wonder, like, what do you need all that mass for, my man? You okay? Things good at home? Because, dude, it's never functional weight. Every time I'm in a mosh pit and I see one of those guys and they come running up and they hit me, because, like, of course, when you're over 6 feet tall, people think, like, these short muscle-bound guys, like, they're like, I'm going to take that guy out. And they just bounce off you like a Plinko ball. And it's like, buddy, I played football. I know all about leverage. You're not going to knock me down here in this pit. And it's like a false hit, because you think, this guy's big. He has to be strong. And it's not. So all that mass, you never know. You're going to need functional strength. I'd rather take a guy that just looks like he's ready to go.
Old dad strength.
Yeah, other than, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. just, like, getting show muscles. Not a good look for me in my draft. And I could keep him, but I also need some good quarterback play. Watch him go off, and then I let him go, and I regret it. That's the other thing. You can't have a regret if you keep a guy that you think might be good, right?
Yep.
You got to weigh all your options and say, am I going to feel bad, or can people make fun of me if I don't keep this guy? Because then you can always say, well, you know what? Because then I have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Xavier Worthy. So, man, I got some tough picks coming up. Because Xavier Worthy was coming on late in the year with Mahomes.
Yeah.
And they were starting to actually use him instead of just throwing screens to him and other stupid stuff, which counts as 1 point because we play PPR. But I need to see him stretch the field. Like Tyreek Hill, they didn't do that. It would drive me nuts, dude, because I know he's fast. And I don't think, did the Chiefs get a big receiver? I can't remember now.
I don't think.
Every time a receiver was drafted, everyone's like, this guy's a great playmaker. It's like, nah, if I didn't hear you, bro, you're not a great playmaker.
You mean you play with Patrick Mahomes who's going to run around and throw you the ball? All right.
Yeah, like, I need to know, like, I watch a lot of college ball, dude. If I haven't heard of you, or you're, like, not in a good quarterback situation, like with Mahomes, like, I'm not going to fantasy draft you until I see. You got to prove it. Because you could have a year like Devontae Adams where you're dropping every pass, and it's, like, embarrassing. And it took him, like, 3 years to get spun up to where he was good. So that's what I'm looking for. But as you're watching the show, if you have insights on any new NFL guys for the draft, let us know. Maybe we can hit on them a little bit. But you have anything else for the NFL you want to talk about?
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into some college football stuff, because it seems like we've got a rekindled interest in workout stuff that we normally do pre-show. But since we're in the summer and the shows have been shorter, I did get... I'm starting to train for, like, people that don't know, a half marathon in the fall to try to maybe run the Pittsburgh Marathon next year. Although I haven't got confirmation from people that I'm supposed to run with, so I don't know for sure. But my plan is that if that falls through, I'll run the full marathon at, like, the Outer Banks or something, where it's flatter, and I can just do it and see if I can complete it. But I went out on Saturday in the heat and ran a 10-miler just to see what the difference was, because I had that on my challenge that I was trying to do, and I was supposed to do the 10-miler first, but I knew the heat was going to kick up. So it added a little bit more time. I think it was like 7 minutes based on whatever my pace was the previous time, which I expected, because with the heat, it slows you down, like, not gonna lie. I even woke up kind of early to try to get it in, because last time I ran from like 9 to 11 or something like that. This time I was trying to go from like 8 to 9 or something like that, just the 2 hours, try to run it out. And it wasn't too bad, surprisingly. But my thing that killed me is the bike, dude. So I have the exercise bike I've been talking about. And I've been trying to do 2 workouts, like interval training. I've seen people call it different things, whatever. Jeffing for running, or the faultlick run. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if I brought this up last week, but I read a medical journal now where they said you can do 5 and 5 minutes instead of like the 5 and 3 that I had talked about, where your body should be able to handle 5 minutes of higher intensity. I had been doing that. My legs were so shredded that I actually took off Thursday and Friday and just walked those 2 days before I ran, and my legs were still tired. Like around mile 5, I was done. Like I had to kick it and try to like make it the rest of the way to hit that goal, because I run up the Greenway, and so I'm 5 miles up, my legs start to give out. I have to come back 5 miles, right? Like I have to go back to my car. So even if my body goes up, like I have to at least walk back. But I was jogging, and I should try to get a marathon shirt or something. Like, don't they wear like a tank top? That's what I think I need to switch to. And I think all of the green running shirts I have that are dry fit are like short sleeve, so it adds a little bit more weight. And even with that, I had my phone band on my arm, and that was just drenched. So I think I might need to switch to like a running belt. Although if I'm actually going to run an official race, I guess I need to see what the regulations are. Because they said you can...
You can fill it full of snacks.
A pouch?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's my buddy. He was like saying that he almost died because he went bike riding he ran out of snacks and water. And then he had to go to a gas station. But I saw that they have some that are like, hey, we have a special water bottle you carry with you that fits into the curve of your back or whatever, so that it like doesn't bounce. Because like that's the one thing I had run with, one of those like drawstring bags a couple years ago for the 110K I did, that was so hot that I was dying. I mean, I just had plastic water bottles in there because I figured, well, once I drink the water, it's not going to be bouncing on my back anymore, right? And so that worked out. And then you lose the weight that way. But I think the pouches, and they tell you to bring one of those gels, like the pouch gels that have whatever in it. That's what they want you to eat on the marathon. Now, sometimes they have stations, but like I'm just training. So the belt, even if I can't wear it for the race, I might have to do it, like you said, just to have extra snacks. So like on a day, on Saturday, I wondered, hey, if I had eaten something. But, I mean, I'm pretty in tune with my body. So like when I did the half marathon a couple weeks ago, I could like feel that my body was like more burning off like fat or whatever I had in the tank. This past week, it didn't really feel like that. I don't know if it was because of the heat or what, but my body was more trying to just retain that fuel, and maybe that's why it shut me down early. So that's why I was wondering, well, it might have just been overwork from my leg training or my bike training, that if I had brought snacks, maybe it would have kicked me in and then I wouldn't have had to drop off. But I'm trying to figure out what a pace would be. Because now I'm thinking maybe I should just run in the morning instead of some days doing the bike twice and then bike just for distance in the evening and not do the hills. Because the hills might work, but like I'm training for a half marathon right now. And so me running between a 10-mile run and a half marathon every month or so, just to get used to the distance, I need to work something out with my bike. So any suggestions you have out there, if you're listening and you've trained for some of these races, let me know. I've heard people say like, yo, if your legs start to die like that, if there's hills, walk them as like a little bit of a rest. Because then if you try to run the hills, it'll kill your legs even faster. And so I try to do that, but the way the Greenway is, there's not a lot of hills. But it was kind of wet, like it rained a little bit. So anytime there was a bridge, I walked because I was wiped out. And I thought, I'm not falling and hurting myself. especially with all the bikes that fly by on the bridges. I'm like, bro, do you need to be flying? Are you timing yourself? That's what I want to know. Because you're trying to hurt me here. I'm gonna get run over by a bike. That'll be the end of the show. I'll be like, yeah, he died. I'm like, what happened? He was running and a biker hit him, ran him right over. He fell off the bridge. Got swept down.
Yeah, I can see you just becoming one of those obnoxious bike people, just
Me?
riding your bike around. Yeah.
Oh no, dude, I hate bike people. That's the one thing that I don't want to say never, because if I'll say this as a parent, if your kids get into something and they're like hardcore into it, and they would say, hey yo, Dad, I want you to get like this, do this long bike race with me, I would probably do it. But I've also talked about doing a triathlon, right? So if the marathon, Pittsburgh Marathon doesn't work out, because obviously I need a place to stay or whatever, I'm not going to drive up there. I'd rather rent a place in the Outer Banks, right? If I'm going to rent a place to run a marathon, I'd rather do a beach house, right? I'm not. Who would be crazy to rent a place in Pittsburgh? Right? That's not a destination. No offense. And it's a lot closer for me to drive too. So I think the triathlon would be about the only thing that I would do. And apparently, as I've been like reading up on it, they have like 5 or 6 different versions of it, where they have a fast one, which is apparently like the base one, which is what I'd probably be doing first, because it's only a couple miles. It's like a 5K running distance, where some of them go up to like Ironman, where you're running an actual marathon after you bike like 100 miles. And I thought, oh my God, that you'd have to be just constantly fueling up. You have to like, I feel like you have to hate yourself, right? Because I've been telling people that ask me, I'm like, dude, running like distance is almost like 100% mental. I feel like naturally over time, I'm seeing if this will like transform me to like get into shape better than what's been in like the past years. And I don't know, it's way too early for me to know. Maybe by November, we'll see if they've been like a body transformation where I'm like actively in shape and have more energy. Because right now you're still fighting it like past the stage of, okay, trying to go ahead and get to that certain point, but you have to kind of get past it or not. And I don't know if right now I can go ahead and get through that all the way to the end of like reaching my goal of having a great time and being in shape enough to where I can just go out and run like, oh, without like any warning, can you just go run 10 miles? Like without like adjusting your warm-ups like for 2 days, and then on Sunday like having a full day of rest or whatever, right? Because I feel like that's where I'm at right now, where you have on Sunday after I have to rest for pretty much the entire day, which ended up being Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. But I was resting up a good bit of that day, and so even if I was run a marathon, I feel like it would almost take me a week. Like I ran a mile today, which would have been what, 1 day rest, and then today would have been the day after that. So you're running a mile afterwards. Like that's not too bad. But I know I wasn't like full speed yet or anything because my legs still feel heavy as lead. And then when I biked this afternoon, I was pretty much dead 5 minutes in. So I need to get that point where my leg muscles are able to support this training, because I don't think it's my lungs at this point. I need to get my legs in better shape, because I think that'll help my bike times and that will help my run times, but I don't know. Anything fitness you want to add?
I mean, that makes sense. I feel like I've kind of hit another wall where it's not shin splints, but it's like in that shin splint type area where like my legs are just really tight. Like I'm almost worried that do I push hard again and then potentially trigger some tendonitis, or just like this is a peak time now with the summer where I can kind of push some extra miles. I'm like, I'm stuck. I know a big part of it is your shoes. I feel like my shoes are still in decent shape, but I know I'm probably due to swap them out and get a new pair. Because I noticed that was one of the biggest things, is you switch from, like, you have to have decent shoes or else you're going to have all kinds of issues.
Well, see, that's the one thing that everyone keeps telling me, like, oh, you need to get better shoes. But honestly, I feel better just buying, they're like $20 running shoes at Walmart because I know I'm going to just tear through them. I've had more expensive shoes. It doesn't matter. Like, to me, you can get the running shoes. I guess they have carbon plated ones now that are supposed to last longer. They're like $200. And I feel like if I spend $200 on a shoe, if I wear them weird, like wear them out weird where I'm like running unbalanced, I'm mentally not going to say, okay, well, now I got to throw these away. Right? Where with a $20 shoe, if it's weird, if it's running weird or anything else, I know, like, okay, I got a couple months, no big deal, I go get another pair. And it seems like every year the quality is getting better and better. And you can't convince me that if the shoe is not lasting longer, then what's the difference? Like, to me, it doesn't hurt my feet. I wear a pretty standard, like, perfect size 12, luckily. And they always have that in, like, all my shoes. So I've tried every brand. I've had track shoes in high school. I think I've talked about it on the show before, where that was like one of the perks. They'd give me like great shoes. Probably not supposed to do that, like one of those NCAA violation things. But I've had every brand from that. And every time, like, once you're running like a certain amount of distance, you're pretty much just chewing the shoe up. So my rule of thumb is get a shoe that feels good and gets enough padding, and then if it starts to wear to a point like, okay, well, I'm doing a new course where I'm always turning left, and I've noticed that like the inside is wearing down, so now I'm like uneven, toss them, or run your course backwards to even it out if you're that crazy. But I feel like if I was buying heavy shoes, because I look at the mileage on them and it's like, I'm getting the same, like I can get my shoes to last from Walmart at least 6 months. And then at that point, okay, you're $20 in. Instead of, you're not going to get a $200 pair of shoes to last more than 2 years. So, I mean, at some point, yeah, they might be a little bit better. And I've tried different ones. I'm not saying like the $20 ones are like the only ones. I know they even had some cheaper ones now, although things might be going up. But I've tried like, hey, let me see what the $50 ones like are any better. And yeah, some of them give like a little bit more padding or some bounce, but they pretty much have a knockoff version of every running shoe wherever you need to look. You might need to drive around to a couple different stores, but I've been in Dick's trying them on and like just jogging back and forth a little bit in like their workout area just to see. And like I said, I've bought some, and it just, to me, I'm not training hardcore where, oh, this shoe bounces back a little bit more and might push my pace up. I don't care. I'm more doing it so that I can stay in shape, and hopefully this is a lifelong change, because there's scientific studies out there that say if you run or jog for decent distance as you get older, you have less hip injury like issues. You have less knee issues because your body will increase blood flow to those areas. And so I'm trying to stay. All right, let's see. You hear stories about like 80-year-old people running marathons. I can't even do that in my 30s, dude. So like, there's a disconnect from health for me. And so now it's a chance where every year, that I've been doing this for like 5 years now, every year I'm getting a little bit better in shape, but I can't stop because luckily the show keeps me going. It gives me something to talk about, but I get older, easier chance of getting injured. So you have to reach the point where, hey, I'm in enough shape where I can do things I couldn't do like in my early 30s. That's sad. That's really sad. And it makes me just push a little bit harder each time. But yeah, you got to be smart, dude. Sometimes I'm wondering, like, if I drop weight, I know my time will go up, but like, I'm already eating healthy now. Like, do I just want to drop weight because? Probably I have some weight to drop, and that will drop naturally as I increase my workouts from doing like 5K and 10Ks, right? Because that's not taking enough energy, I don't think. But I know if I lose weight, those times will increase. So the way I view it, and so for people at home, if you need motivation, if it takes you 30 minutes to run a 5K, right? And you set that in your head, well, every day, like 3 days a week, I'm going to run a 5K. If you're able to increase your time down to 25 minutes, you're saving yourself 5 minutes of workout a week. You're doing the same exact training, right? But you're in better shape, and then you don't have to work out as long. So that's a great motivation thing that I use. Like, all right, well, I'm not going to set, I'm going to run for 30 minutes. I've just been setting a distance time. Like, oh, you know what? I have a tight schedule. I'm going to run a mile on my break this today. Oh, if I run it in like 9 minutes, awesome. If I do 8 minutes, 7 minutes, awesome, even better. Like, do you really need to push yourself that hard every time? No. If you do 10 minutes, okay. Because 10 minutes, like, I don't know, like the ideal peak for me, I think, would be the Boston Marathon time, which is 3 hours. I think is the qualification. I don't know. But I don't know how many miles per hour that would be or how many minutes a mile. But I think...
Yeah, it would be a pain is what it would be.
Well, see, long term, I'm not saying I'm going to qualify for that. But I'm saying even for just like a 5K time, like if I can get to a 5K time, that would be on pace to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And then I keep chunking off 5 minutes on my 10K time every year or so. Awesome. Like I let myself go too much. That's how I tell it, like family and friends now that are younger. Don't wait till you're in your 30s, dude. It's hard to bounce back. Like if you're young and in your 20s, like I should have started running like in college. And then I never would have had this major drop that I'm trying to build back from. Don't you agree?
But I feel like running is a really, really hard thing. Like I do not enjoy running at all. And the only reason that I even manage to log the miles that I do is just because I enjoy eating and drinking too much.
Why don't you get a skateboard? Tony
Why
Hawk.
don't you eat a whale?
Tony Hawk is like a slim man, right?
Because I live in a state where the roads are constantly under construction.
So what you're saying is you're hinting by projecting onto me about me being a biker. You're hinting that you're going to be a hardcore biker in like 2 years.
No,
so all my friends will just be hardcore into biking, is what you're saying.
Oh my God.
If I get a picture of, hey, where do you think these colors look? And it's like a tight spandex biking suit. I'm just going to roll my eyes, dude. I won't even know what to say. I'll have to cancel the show that week. I'll say, hey, we didn't have a show this week, but Matt sent this picture in. And that'll be it. Your biking outfit. You can get indoor bike, dude, if you don't like running. I'm telling you, it's hard, but it's definitely leg-based more than the rest of your body. So you would have to supplement it. Where running, if you run hard, like sprinting, it like works out your shoulders and stuff. Like your neck might feel tight the next day. You don't get that from biking. I actually felt, because like if I'm gripping hard, I've noticed that like my chest was like kind of tight after, and I thought I shouldn't be pulling that hard on the bike then, right? I need to find a better way to do it, because it was like a weird soreness. It wasn't like, hey, I bench pressed and my muscles were. It was almost like right in my sternum that I noticed the one day when I was really trying to push. Like I clicked the wrong thing. I thought it said 3 pyramids. It was like 5 in a sprint at the end. And I thought, oh my God, why am I sprinting for like 4 minutes here at the end of this bike? So I was gripping it really tight to try to hit the zone or whatever. And then that's when I realized I need to take a day off before I run this 10 mile or I'm never going to finish. I couldn't walk. And that's the one thing I probably need to get, like padded shorts or something when riding the bike for long distance. Because then I've noticed like inside, it's not really the groin area, but inside your legs like hurt from riding after so long. That's the only downsides. Running, I don't have that issue. Other than if it's really hot and sticky, I might chafe a bit. But I got chafe cream that I use, so I'm okay. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to keep updated the next couple weeks as I try to get down. Because I'm worried that if it gets too hot and humid like it was this week, I might not be able to chunk my time for my 10K. So I'm going to have to start pushing myself harder, because I only got, a month to go? I think it's less than a month now for the Big Ten 10K. So that's my first goal. We'll see if I can get that time down. Then my half marathon time in the fall. I think the race in Raleigh's in November, so it'll be way cooler. And then, hey, dude, if I do that, I'm gonna have to do the donut challenge next year, 100% for sure. If you're down, I can't pass up a good time of me being in marathon shape, even if it's only beginner's marathon shape, to try to eat the donuts. I have a buddy down here that did it, and so he said it wasn't that bad. Just consistently jog, take your time and eat, and then consistently jog back, which I feel like I can do because you're going to rest enough that it's not like a full-on couple
Sadly,
mile
I feel
run.
like my eating of donuts will be more efficient than my running.
I feel like the donuts is going to be the hard part for me. I should join a hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July and win a trophy first. I think I don't know. I feel like that's an expensive thing to train for, though, because you have to buy the hot dogs. Depends on how many hot dogs you can eat in whatever minutes it is. But let's get into college here real quick before we wrap up. Actually, no, I want to talk about the NBA. Not too much about the NBA NHL thing, but I've been seeing people kick around like the ratings and the pay and the WNBA and how their ratings aren't as high, and how the pay keeps going. And I was just looking through the data, and it came to my head that during COVID, when everybody and their brother was home, the NBA TV ratings were the worst. There's only like 4 million people that watched it. I could be wrong. You can go back and check it. It was like anywhere between 4 and 6 million, and I think it was like 4, and it's the lowest it's ever been all time. And so my theory is the Nelson ratings, they started to add like bar numbers, and they started to like double it a couple years ago, where they were like, hey, more people are watching out and about. And so for COVID, they took those numbers out. And I think what you're seeing for that COVID year is the actual real number of people watching the NBA game. And the reason this came up is I was talking to some people, and it was like, hey, you watching any of the NBA? And I haven't run into anyone that's watching it, which is weird because it seems like it's a good series. And even me, I'm like, I watched the Celtics last year, but if the Celtics weren't in it, I probably wouldn't have watched either. And I noticed that last year they only had like 6 million viewers, I think, for the Celtics win. And I thought, is the NBA just that unpopular now that just no one watches? You can't like casually see someone that's watched the game. And so NHL is kind of in the same boat where it's like it's always been lower, but you consistently can find that one hardcore hockey fan. And I can't even find a hardcore like basketball fan anymore. To where the young kids might be watching clips on social, but they're not watching the game. You can't convince me that the billions of dollars that ESPN pours into the NBA has to be giving them good returns. Because if their championship is this low value watch, then are their regular season ratings being propped up by just sports bars? That's the real question. Like if Nelson had to cut sports bars out of their ratings, how bad would sport ratings be? Because you shouldn't have your championship game draw less than some random Northwestern football game. Because I know they're not showing Northwestern games at the bars. Right?
Are you sure?
You're not going to go to any bar. Right now, you're going to go to any bar, you're going to just see tons of NBA games on. It'll be on like every TV. And I've brought this up to someone, like they had the afternoon game for some of the playoff slots. You go to people's houses, they never have, like I've never been to someone's house where they just casually have basketball on. But no matter where I go during football season, there's always some guy that's like, I have to watch the game. Kid's birthday, whatever. Like, it's just a different vibe, I think. There's just so many people that are like, well, we got to watch football on. No matter what we're doing. But like right now for the finals, like maybe if Carolina had a team in it, it might be different. But like I've been to parties where like there's a random group of people watching the Cowboys game on their phone from some guy's satellite stream right in the corner. So unless I just don't know any Indiana fans around here or Oklahoma City fans, which makes sense, right? Because they were Seattle's stolen team. Maybe, but I wanted to add that in. Just to see if anyone else agreed or disagreed. You can reach out and let us know. But the last thing for college, no real updates on paying players. I've been doing a little bit of research into it to see if any new things came up. There's been a push from some of the government stuff to get cleaned up, but then there was other government stuff going on where it seemed like that took a back burner. And so we really haven't had any clarification. There's been no new insights on like investigations into like Michigan or any of the other ongoing NCAA investigations. NCAA is still looking into paying groups. I don't know if that's going to work out like the way they're paying players still, because you can't just pay them, not classify them as employees, and then the big thing is the insurance. So there's some groups that are saying like, well, you should offer them health insurance for like life, which is kind of insane, right? That's kind of what they're saying. But like that's kind of hard to do, don't you think? Or like, because even if the value, someone said that if they did it for life, it would be like a couple $2 billion initially, and then it would only be like a little bit each year. Because like maybe it's like $3 billion the first year, and then after that it would drop to the millions because like you'd have everyone kind of covered. And because you have such a large group that are generally healthy, but again, who's getting it? Just D1?
All right, so hold on. There's a lot of layers in this onion that need to be processed. So I was thinking of one of my buddies that was truly a wild card type person, and he said it best. If he had provided health insurance, he would go over every little thing. But if he knew that there was going to be a component of that he had to pay, he would be more selective with if and when he would go to the doctors over stuff. Taking that a step further, looking at a lot of schools right now, that's one of the biggest issues is the cost of healthcare in offering positions to people. That a lot of schools are having to cut staff because the cost of paying for insurance and medical coverage for them is just through the roof. And it's causing some schools to cut positions. So they're having a hard enough time paying the regular faculty and staff. I would be shocked if they're going to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, let's just start funding all of these random athletes as well.
Well, that's what I'm looking at, because the healthcare thing, it's kind of crazy. I don't know how they would try to pay all these people. And I don't even know if it's just like a push, but they're looking for included expanded healthcare coverage that would take effect after some changes from the Board of Governors. So they already ruled the first one in from last year. And so this next one is to get them, I don't know if it's like, I'm sure it's not going to cover everything for life. I'm thinking that it's going to be like, that's like a misreading from some of the journalists. I'm thinking that if you get injured playing a sport, like let's say Marcus Lattimore, right? His knee was shredded.
Yeah,
he'd probably have his knee covered for life, if that makes sense, right? If he has to go to physical therapy, or most likely, let's be honest, it's for CTE football stuff. Do you disagree?
I think if they're doing it that way and it's a major comprehensive thing,
it has to be. They can't just be giving people free health care for life. I mean, heck, I'd be signing up to have eligibility to join like a rowing team to get it. Right? Bro, I'll never quit. I'll just row nonstop. I don't care.
Just row for life.
They're just like, what do you get up and do? I'm like, you don't have to, I don't think you run. Like, you're just literally pulling with your arms. I would just do it for 5 hours a day, nonstop for months, and then go try out at the local team. Because there's some D1 schools that are lower level now. They might not have a lot of competition, but no one's going to outwork me. It'll be like the Tim Tebow thing. You're not going to outwork me. Blah, blah, blah. But that's like where it comes to, right? So that's going to be the thing that you're working on.
I could see them doing. Now, that makes a lot more sense to do it in a way where you're.
Well, we don't know for sure, right? It's just a proposal.
But that's the only way that I feel like it makes sense. That if you're a major Division I athlete and then you're just like, it's like to save you, because if you suffer a major issue that prevents you from earning lots of money as a professional athlete, like that, to me, that type of policy makes sense, because if you're not in a major accident or have a major injury, like a catastrophic injury, having that type of policy kind of makes more sense to me, because you're not going to be paying out nearly the same as if you're just saying, oh, your regular like family Blue Cross Blue Shield plan is covered for the rest of your life because you played 4 years of college rowing. Like, that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's even other sports that, like fencing, like, would that be covered? Like, what are you going to do for all these athletes? And I think, honestly, football is what's driving the change. It's what moves the needle. And I think they're really just trying to get ahead of the head concussion CTE type thing, where if they probably have some comprehensive coverage where if you have effects from playing the sport, whether it's like a leg injury or something that happened when you played and you have documented proof, then they're probably giving you some type of coverage for life. But I want to see more information on this and some of the paying things too, because we've had some proposals that come through that we've talked through and they just never clarified them. And I think there's a lot of misinformation on purpose. Because even with the new college football game coming out, I don't know if you saw the updates, but they're now going to pay teams based on how many players play as that team in the game. So, like, last year, I ended up playing as what? Texas Tech? I can't remember. But, like, I was playing as some 3-star team online to give myself more of a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And then next year, like 100%, I wouldn't do that because I would only play as Michigan knowing that they're going to pay our guys more. Right? I mean, Michigan might be a lower star team because they didn't make the playoffs last year. I doubt it. Right? But that's where I think you're going to see a lot of change where, hey, are people going to be playing as like random school XYZ? Are you going to play as one of the big boys? Because I know a lot of like fans of smaller schools like NC State or whatever, they're like, oh, I like to play as like a small school, then try to build them up. It's like, well, now you should probably play as NC State though, dog. Right? Get that NIL money flowing, because people are just naturally going to play as like the Michigans of the world anyway. And so you're already at a disadvantage if you're like a Pitt fan and you're playing as like Akron instead. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out, and if the players will start to leak out like, hey, guess what? I got paid like $1,000 for this, and then some other guy's like, I got paid $10,000. What are you doing? And it's like, sorry, people are really playing as you. But I'm thinking it's more to the school, not the players. But you never know with NIL, right? Some guys that are on the cover, they're 100% getting paid more. And so if like Donovan Edwards last year, I know he didn't get drafted or whatever, if he came back because they were paying him to be on the cover of NCAA football, then it's worth it. Right? You're immortalized in a game that might be like someone finds it like a Goodwill years later and looks you up to see who you are. You don't get that if you don't play the game.
Yep.
So that's all I have for this week. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I appreciate the ongoing support, and hopefully we'll be getting into some bigger topics here in the near future.
Yep, if there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Like I said, the schedule might be a little mixed up the next couple weeks, but we'll keep you updated, and we will see you next week.